So E3 2018 has come and gone. You know, it's now over. It's been less than a week. I still haven't uploaded a video. But Colin Moriarty of IGN fame, also Kind of Funny Games fame, he created Kind of Funny Games. You know, he's pretty successful journalist slash entrepreneur, I guess. If journalism is entrepreneurial, if that's even a word. Entrepreneurial? I'm just saying it wrong. But his opinions on how Xbox One E3 2018 on his latest channel on YouTube just doesn't make any sense to me. I dropped a comment in here that is as follows. And there is censorship in the comment that I dropped. The only expletive that was used is censored. What the F are you smoking, Colin? When did you take over? When did Sega take over gaming? When did Microsoft take the reins? Never. It never happened. The fight between the big three has only ever been between Sony and Nintendo. So the big two? MS did all right, but I'm not seeing a successful resurgence out of what was shown at those, even of those studio acquisitions. Ninja Theory is the best studio, and I only foresee them being forced to close within the next 5 to 7 years thanks to MS. Or Microsoft. See, I'm reading my own comment. I just kind of didn't let you in on that, I guess. But I keep going on. And I just want to interject that I really hope Ninja Theory, even though they've not actually made too many games, what they have made has shown promise. You know, and while, you know, Senua's Sacrifice doesn't really seem to be like my sort of game, it also, you know, it focuses on the story and the graphics. It's just that the story is just sort of, I don't know. I think it's the combination of the story, the fantasy setting, which, you know, has the swords and magic and all that stuff, and the story theme, you know, that I just can't really get along with, I guess. Like, I get that they're trying to, you know, say people got mental illnesses and stuff, so here's what we think it's like and all that stuff. But it'd be like me trying to make a video game about all the pain that I'm going through in my day-to-day life. You know, stuff that the doctors can't explain yet, you know, despite all the stuff, all the evidence that something is wrong, you know, so let's make a video game about it. And yeah, I just don't think it would do very well. You know, like they had that Dragon Cancer video game where unfortunately the people who made the video game, their son actually died. That sucks. But I mean, how do you go through that process? You know, I think really if they wanted to make that game have more weight, they probably actually would have made it more like Detroit, where you make decisions, and these decisions have huge impacts, permanent, everlasting impacts. They change the entire story, the whole outcome. Like, there's got to be a more interesting way than just, sword fighting with imaginary, you know, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess that works. I mean, that's effectively what these people are doing. They're struggling with something that it isn't real, but it is to them. You know? You know, I mean, so that makes some sense. Also, I guess that will lead into the end of this whole comment in a little bit. But let's get back to my comment. Nintendo literally failed in E3 in every possible way imaginable. They effectively brought only one game to the show, and it wasn't even, oh boy, I lost my comment here. I waited too long. It wasn't even a big one, well, sales-wise. I mean, there's huge amounts of hype around Smash, again, interjecting again. Huge amounts of hype surrounding Smash. But who really cares besides the people who play it? which is actually not as many, I mean, a lot of people buy games, and there's no achievements or anything on Nintendo system, which is a good thing in the sense that, you won't have to worry about people calling you not a gamer for not platinuming everything, or, getting all of the gamer score, or just unlocking all the achievements on Steam and stuff like that, or on Google Play, or what have you. But the reality is that it can give you a sense of the general audience. How many people played through your game? What was the engagement? What did we do right? What did we do wrong? Of course, we're going to still pay attention to the feedback that you leave on the forums that we created for the video game's official websites and stuff like that. But Nintendo doesn't seem to do any of that. They don't give a shit based on what we see, as an end user. Although I'll give Nintendo credit where credit's due. They're the only ones that give me any sort of coupons and discounts for my birthday. But to be honest, I mean, even when you look at that, it's a nice gesture, but they only allowed the coupon to be used on a couple of, first and third party games, most of which I'm not really interested in, and even though I don't want to share my recommendations and stuff like that, there's no fucking way in hell that they don't know what I've purchased on my account, and could still reasonably, within the terms of service even, be like, oh, well, we'll still recommend these sorts of games when we draw up that coupon for you, which would be fine. I'd be okay with that. But no. I just don't want to be blasted with stuff when I'm going to the eShop. I don't want that sort of, thing to affect what is shown to me while I actually go and shop. See what I'm saying, Nintendo? There's a good way and a bad way. And with PlayStation, you don't get to choose, but at the same time, it's always provided at the bottom of the thing, like, oh, and it's always wrong. I mean, maybe it's right. I haven't tried all the games. Of course, I don't have a lot of money for spending on games. So, whatever. I mean, it's just, I haven't really been able to give that recommendation engine a shot. Whereas on Nintendo, they give me the option to reject it, and I said, yep, I'm going to reject. Sony doesn't even give you that option. So I guess props to Nintendo there. People would say, well, it's anti-consumer that they don't give you the option, But it's something that you have to go to the very bottom of every game page to actually, witness. Whereas with Nintendo, it's implied that it doesn't just impact, that recommended tab at the bottom of the eShop on the 3DS. Because I don't actually have a Wii or Wii U or Switch. So I have no idea what those digital storefronts actually look like outside of what I've seen in videos. So anyway, back to my comment. Sony brought the games. Sure, we've already heard of the games, but they finally showed off their wares. Previously, we had only seen Spider-Man in action. So why didn't Sony win? Because the presentation that they made, just to hype up the live audience's expectations, not the online viewers, unfortunately. You could argue that this hype failed to hit its intended mark for the live audience as much as it did for us online. But we weren't there. Remember that E3 is now open to the public, not just stuck-up, privileged gaming journalists. Yeah. So, MS brought the pre-rendered trailers, which always seem to be a problem when Sony does it. But it isn't a double standard at all by letting Microsoft slide for doing the exact same thing. Nintendo just forgot all their games, which, Nintendo is old and clearly suffering from Alzheimer's at this point. I mean, have you seen the Switch? It has hints of being a great portable aside from the absolutely abhorrent battery life, which, by the way, is okay to let Switch slip by while the Vita was blasted to Kingdom Come for having nearly 2 more hours of actual gaming battery life. Oh, and for actually being able to fit in your pants pocket, unlike the Switch. However, Switch is a terrible home console, about on par with last generation hardware. Hell, the only reason a game like Doom 2016 can even run on the Switch is down to the fact that the engine the game runs on supports FP16. And so too does Tegra X1 hardware, with which the Switch is equipped. So, interjection again. Most of that was common. I did change a couple of things. Some things I actually left the same. There was like this weird little run-on sentence in there, but whatever. Fact of the matter is that Nintendo failed to bring any sort of reasonable amount of hype to, making their game console sell. I mean, what? If you don't give a crap about Smash during E3, I mean, who really watches E3? You have all these little kids and stuff. I don't know how many people watch E3. I mean, by the time I started getting interested in E3 and stuff like that, I was like 11. Okay? So, it was like pretty early for E3. Okay? So, it blows my mind that that people would really be watching E3. I mean, the Nintendo Direct, of course, is actually not really like an E3. So there's that too. I mean, Nintendo can actually target their audience more directly through their own special thing. And that's what Reggie Fils-Aimé is up there for. He's like shaking the little Pokeball thing and, oh my god, there's a Pokemon inside! It's for the kids. It's for the kids. The Nintendo Direct, really. It's to get directly to the audience. And Smash is a game for everybody. But let's be real here. If your kids, at this point, I guess you could argue that Smash actually isn't for kids. It's for the Nintendo fans at this point. Because Nintendo, how long has it been since they've touched on Metroid? Besides Samus Returns on the 3DS, which, let's be honest, how many kids are going to be playing that game these days? How many? How well did that game even sell? Even, going back to the early days, Smash is for Nintendo enthusiasts. And at this point, because Nintendo hasn't touched on a lot of these franchises in freaking decades, we can safely assume that today's audiences don't give a crap about it, about most of the characters that were shown off. A huge majority. I mean, even Yoshi and stuff like that. These sorts of iconic Nintendo characters that were created more than 25 years ago. It's just ridiculous. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I'm not hyped for Smash. I don't really give a crap about Smash. And I finally ended up getting Smash. And I also looked at Smash compared to PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. And quite frankly, each of those kind of failed to hit the mark for me. I gave P Sabar thing, whatever. There's so many. It's not just trying to be a Nintendo game. Like, it really legitimately, in every way, shape, and form, pretty much is a Nintendo game, right? Even the ridiculously long acronym that is associated with the game's title. PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. Okay, but anyway, the game, those types of games kind of just suck. And it's the same thing with, like, these fighting games. Like, give me Street Fighter 2, alright. But scale it up to 1080p. You don't even need to get rid of the pixelation or anything. Like, legitimately, just leave everything alone and make sure that it properly displays on a 1080p screen, and I'd still play it. And that's pretty much it. Like, I was done with fighting games after Street Fighter 2 on the Super NES. Okay? So, I really don't understand. Well, there are some new fighters that have the 3D, they're 3D and all that stuff, but most of these Street Fighter games, they're still 2D, scrolling screen, the Killer Instinct style stuff. No, no. It is literally the same types of games, just with a pretty coat of paint. It is pointless to keep selling these games with all of the added graphical flair, but no additional substance, really. And a lot of the cases, what they've done with these fighters is because they're not really, user friendly, easily accessible. They are not appealing to a wide general audience. What they've done is they've made these games really accessible to people who just want to button mash, you know, and to, or what they say, people who button mash and to the hardcore. But in reality, what they've really done is made the games so that it's so easy to play that there's just no fun in it. That literally all you have to do is button mash. You don't really ever have to, except against other humans in very strict settings. Like, how did that pro gaming thing with the Street Fighter V go? Like, they have the pro circuit or whatever. Did they even have enough customization to actually make that a major league gaming thing? I don't really think they built that much into the game to actually allow people to create lobbies that would allow them to actually play the game as it's meant to be played without these stupid little power-up crystals and stuff. It's freaking ridiculous. But that's how these games have gotten. They've gotten to a point where they're too freaking easy. And you have a game like Knack, which was lambasted because, there's only 2 difficulty modes. Yeah, like easy and fucking kill me. Did you try playing through that entire game like I did? I mean, seriously. Knack is a really good game. It's one of these really, very simple games that it's retro at heart, really. And while you can keep playing without worrying about having to start over from the very beginning or from like a checkpoint from, one point in the game a million years ago, it's still very difficult. Extremely difficult. Especially that last boss. I think I still have some video of that where it's like, fuck! It is something else. And that boss battle is pretty epic. But, even though that game is completely ridiculous, it's made for kids and all that stuff, I can't really see like a kid actually playing that game and not learning some new words and failing. Back to my comment here. Meanwhile, Sony actually brought 4 huge exclusive titles that can be found nowhere else, and they all looked quite amazing, and were all demonstrated to be running on real PS4 hardware on the show floor. So how did Microsoft, in an objective sense, win E3 2018? Based on their seamless presentation alone? That seems really, really dumb. And also, this is what I added to the end of the comment. Hooray for first world problems! Because who the hell really gives a shit? Like, I don't even really give a shit. But at the same time, we're all giving our opinions here. And this is just, if we're gonna give our opinions, shouldn't they be based in some sort of, modicum of reality? It's just ridiculous that people are like, well, Microsoft showed off the trailers whenever anybody else does it. It's not good. It's not good. Like, people were going bonkers over them showing the logo for Metroid Prime last year. Remember that? Anybody remember that? Yeah, they're like, oh, Metroid Prime's gonna come out. And the girl gamers were leaking through their breasts, and the boy gamers leaking through their penis. Because, what else? They're so fucking shocked. Yeah, I threw in both genders because there's only 2 guys and girls. But, and it just blows me away. It blows me away that people are like, they're blown away by them just showing off the logo for this game. And of course, again, who really cares except for the diehards? And of the diehards, how many actually are girls? They're, in the first place, if we're going to be honest, for there being like this really strong female character in this exosuit since, you know, the inception of Metro. Really, how many people gave a shit? For real. Like, how many people are hyped? How many people are pre-ordering that game right now? You know, or donating money to Nintendo under, you know, hey, give me some Metroid Prime 4. You know, I mean, nobody cares. Nobody really cares. It might sell like 1 million units, you know. And that's the thing, is like a lot of Nintendo's IPs outside of Mario have been done to death. Actually, Mario's been done to death too, really. Yeah, I take that back, yeah. Mario's been done to death. And yet they are still going at it. They're still going at it. And it still sells a lot of units. So at least they recoup, you know, from the Mario games. But I mean, this time, holy crap. Have you seen the sales figures for Mario? They've sold pretty much... This is legit the only reason why people have the Nintendo Switch. Mario Kart 8 and Super Mario Odyssey. Even Legend of Zelda. I mean, initially, there were more Zelda games sold than consoles. But now it's obviously the other way around. Like, Zelda has dropped off the map. They're, I think, still in the top 10, so I guess not really off the map. But, you know, they've dropped significantly. You know, it's like sold 5 million units or some crap. Whereas, like, Super Mario Odyssey's already past 10 million. It's already past 10 million. I think it might have already passed 15 million. Which means pretty much, you know, like 70% of the people who own a Nintendo Switch own that game, even though it wasn't bundled with the hardware. So, I mean, that gives you an idea of the selling power of Mario games. You know, versus all these other games. Like, remember the Wii Sports Resort and all that stuff? You know, which was bundled, an actual physical copy was bundled with each unit, each Wii, you know. And it ended up selling a ridiculous number of units, like 98 million or something. It's like the world's single best-selling video game ever, like, period. Even, I think even now, with Minecraft, as it stands, is still, like, for as many platforms that it's available on smartphones, which includes iOS and Android. It's available on Windows PCs and PCs that can run Windows illegitimately and Steam. And you also have, you know, every console under the sun since last gen except for Wii. And that's it. Yeah, literally, it's on the 3DS. If you have a new 3DS, you get this game. Like, well, it doesn't come with the game or anything, but there's so many iterations of Minecraft. You know, you got a new 3DS, you can buy Minecraft. You got a PS Vita, Minecraft's available there. You got a Nvidia Shield TV, you can't get Minecraft unless you sideload it. But which seems like a huge oversight. I mean, come on, guys. Come on, Nvidia. What's wrong with you guys? Port over Minecraft. No, it works fine. It's just not legitimately supported. Of course, Android and iOS obviously support the, you know, there's a Minecraft game app. And you have it on every device. PS3, Xbox 360, Xbox One, PS4, you know, the Wii U, and now the Switch as well. I think the Switch would be the most recent iteration because, of course, the Switch is newer, right? Or did it come out on the 3DS before it ended up coming out on the Switch? Or the other way around? Did it come out on the Switch before it came out on the 3DS? Maybe the 3DS is the newest one, and it's the worst one. But, you know, I mean, Minecraft is available anywhere. For as many units as they've sold, if you add it all up, I think it still comes in well below, you know, what they sold for that Wii game. But I'm not really sure. Maybe it actually did sell, you know, ridiculous. Where are you, Minecraft? We're going to go ahead and look at it. And it says just 10 million? Just 10 million? So yeah, holy crap. I did not expect that. I legitimately expected like there to be 100 million downloads of this. But apparently it's just, according to Google, the official Play Store thing right now, it says just 10 million downloads. Just 10 million downloads. That's all. Why am I talking like that guy from Star? Okay, anyway, you have Minecraft with 10 million downloads on the Google Play Store. That's official. You know, as of the time of recording this, which is June 18th, Monday at 1, you know, West Coast America time. Anyway, yeah, like what the heck? It's blowing my mind. That just kind of blows my mind. I think combined, it sold like 35 million units. Like if you add up, if there was a way to tally up all the pirated versions and stuff, I think it would still end up coming up less than Wii Sports Resort and stuff. But people use those metrics as a sign of a good game, you know. But see, with the achievements and everything, especially the way that it's set up on, I guess you could argue, on every system now that supports them, you know, which would be Steam, Google Play, the Game Center on iOS. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. It's been a while since I've messed around with anything related to iOS. And, I mean, when I did, I don't think Game Center even existed. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called, at least. What else? You got the trophies on PlayStation Network. I think it's just achievements on Steam and achievements on Xbox Live as well. You know, so whatever. It's the same stuff everywhere, and basically when you look at a game, you get to see how many gamer score you have on Xbox Live. I don't know how it's done on Steam. I think it's just, you know, oh, you've unlocked this many achievements, good for you, pat on the back. And with PlayStation Network, it's pretty much the same thing. How many, you know, the Platinum Trophy is typically the one where you've beaten the game. And of course, when there's no Platinum Trophy in a game, then it's usually like a Gold Trophy or something. You know, could you imagine a game just giving you a bunch of bronze? The uproar. You have these games, they have the trophies, and when you beat the games, they give you a Platinum Trophy when you get every other trophy. Just for getting every other trophy, you typically get the Platinum Trophy, which indicates that you've beaten the game. I've only had like one, well, technically, in the entire time that I've had a PS3, PS4, PS Vita, I've only earned 2 Platinum Trophies, and on separate accounts. So one for each account. One in Resistance 2 with a previous account, you know. So all my scores and everything are gone now. But I was like top 300 for like melee kills, which was hilarious. And then you have the fact that I played that game so much that I was actually able to get all the multiplayer trophies. So then I beat the game, of course. Well, I beat the game way before I like got stuck in the multiplayer. And that game, you know, the multiplayer was so good that I got fucking stuck into it for months. Like, that's literally all I'd play. I'd just be like, yep, I'm gonna just boot up some, you know, Resistance 2 and play the hell out of the multiplayer, you know. And unfortunately, they finally closed down the servers and everything, and we have no more Resistance 2 multiplayer. But I had gotten the Insomniac trophy on that one, which means you played the game for like 48 days consecutively. You know, well, not consecutively, but you know, your hours add up to the 48 days worth or like a month worth or something of total gameplay. So I spent a month in that game online, which is unreal. Like, I don't think I've ever spent that much time online in a video game ever. Period. Never, ever before. And of course I got that Platinum Trophy. So it's like, oh, that's cool. And then you have Jack and Daxter on my new account, my Variant AAC account. That's the one where I ended up getting the Platinum Trophy in just the first Jack and Daxter, I think, so far. And of course, no multiplayer trophies, so duh, it should be really easy. But like Ratchet and Clank and all those other games, like I haven't actually been able to get the platinum trophies yet. But either way, like every game has its own little things, and the multiplayer trophies make it just impossible, But with Jack and Daxter, it was really easy, especially because I played through the game like 30 times already. But I've only earned the platinum trophy on one version of the game. I can't remember which one. Was it the Vita version or the PS3 version? I can't remember, but even if it's just the Vita version, it wouldn't be too hard to get the PS3 version, platinum that one, and maybe I could platinum the Uncharted 3, but I don't see myself platinuming, or I'm sorry, Jack and Daxter 3, or Jack 3, but I don't see myself platinuming Jack and Daxter 2 because of that one hoverboard challenge. That's the one that kept me from getting all the 200 orbs on the PS2. It's like I just couldn't do it. Even when I was a kid, like I could not hit the buttons to perform the tricks fast enough. So I was always coming up way short. So it's not like, oh, just try a little bit harder. I'll be close. No, it's like all the other ones were like really easy, but there's this one stupid little thing that you have to walk up to and get like 2 billion points or something. And that prevented me from entering hero mode and all that stuff. Anyway, looking at the press conferences, it's just ridiculous that people would assume Microsoft won. I mean, the big publishers and everything, I think most of the big publishers, aside from EA, of course, did better than Nintendo. So that's how shit Nintendo's press conference was. It was really that bad. But that's what it is, man. Like Nintendo, they sucked. They sucked hardcore, and Microsoft did, their presentation was flawless, smooth, no technical issues, no problems whatsoever. There were, those low points, especially when they purchased those studios. First of all, most of them sucked, no offense, but it's like Ninja Theory and Playground Games. Playground Games, I think, has only made games for Xbox, so it's not a huge surprise that they acquired that studio. But Ninja Theory, that's the one that's probably going to go over. They make one mistake. Microsoft's got to eat their fucking words here. They've got to support them, even if their next game sucks, sales-wise. Absolutely sucks, sales-wise. But if it does well, then Microsoft will keep them around. And if it doesn't, I really see them hanging by a thread, if not being closed immediately. And of course, we know Microsoft has a habit of creating a studio, making them work on a game, it does well or not, and then of course they're taking too long with their next game and they close the studio down. Even under Phil Spencer. And then, of course, you have this whole Fortnite thing with Sony. Like, Sony's press conference, let's talk about their press conference. Like, Microsoft, yeah, they did all right, but their press conference was just trailers. That's literally it. They didn't really show any actual gameplay of any games outside of Forza Horizon 4. They actually spent the most time on that game, I think, out of all the other games that they showed. There was also, well, I skipped through the Division 2 gameplay thing that they did. I'm sure they did one for Xbox as well, but I skipped through that because, that game's everywhere. Whatever. I don't care about that game personally, and I never really followed the first game, so I don't even know what would have changed from the first game to the second game. It looked the same to me from all the stuff that I did see. I was like, there's like nothing new here. It's just a new setting. I didn't see anything that was actually, going to change the gameplay in a specific, in a way that would draw my interest. But whatever. Dying Light, I'm not sure they spent too much time on that. Of course, they showed the Cyberpunk 2077 trailer, cinematic again. Digital Foundry's like, well, it's actual gameplay, I'm not sure if they actually saw the behind closed doors demo like everybody else was talking about. But the graphics, I don't remember people really talking about the graphics. They were talking about the gameplay and it being a first-person shooter, and they were saying stuff about the AI that I didn't really pay attention to. But the graphics didn't sound like it was unreal, you know. So I don't know. And especially with the what Sony showed, man, like some of the stuff Sony showed, especially with The Last of Us 2, now we're going to go into Sony's press conference, is it just looked unbelievably good. Like legitimately unbelievably good. Like what they were showing, there were a bunch of new character animations for you, the player, as well as all the AI and stuff. They're scrambling, and when they get hit by stuff, they react much more believably. But they also have that sort of cinematic, I'm going to stick around, like that guy that was getting shot with all these arrows, and he's like, nope, I'm not going to go down yet. And then he finally goes down, and then Ellie chops his head off. They didn't use cheesy sound effects like, the head wasn't just like rolling around. And that's like a good thing that they don't have the stupid sound effects. Like their sound effects actually have some sort of impact and sound, I don't know, somewhat believable. When the girl got shot in the face, looking for Ellie, like there was blood dripping out of her face. I'm not sure how many people noticed that. There was not much distance between the hole in her face and the ground, but blood was dripping out of it pretty rapidly. And then you had the hammer that got impaled in the guy's cheek that stayed there when he fell to the ground and all that stuff. It still looks reasonably realistic. I think that the hammer would kind of just like sink down a little bit. Just, yeah. I don't think the tissues would be able to hold the weight of the hammer. But anyway, the arrows that got stuck in the characters, like she had to remove the broken arrow from her arm, so I don't know how that really works out. Does that heal your character or whatever? Do the arrows eventually fade away? That's pretty funny little curiosity, but it's still a video game, so obviously they can't make it fully realistic. If they did that, it would be no fun. All these shooty bang bang killy things would be zero fun if it was 100% realistic, because you sprain your ankle while running through a ditch or something, and maybe it's just me, but like the worse that they make these enemy AI come at you and like really kill you, like the more pissed off I feel at the game for doing all that sort of stuff. But it's not the other way around, of course. The other way around, it's like, I don't care how ridiculous, and over the top the violence gets when you're doing it to the enemy AI, but when they do it to you, it's like, it's infuriating. So I'm not sure how they're going to handle that. Of course, in this game, you're not just killing guys, so there's that. I guess, they have the feminist LGBT stuff in there, but then they also have that whole... They're trying to balance it out, I guess, by saying, oh my god, look, there's a girl in there, she's dead now. I don't know. But, I'm not sure if anybody noticed, but in the first game, you were pretty much exclusively killing guys, except for in multiplayer. And then in multiplayer, you're just randomly spawned as either a male or a female. You don't get to choose. And that's fine. And you play and you're killing, whatever. It's no big deal. But in the single player, of course, you're only, I think, ever killing men. And the only time that you ever saw women getting killed was when, like, the Marauders came around and they were just, like, executing people. But in this game, we're not sure still what's really going on. They did show off some gameplay, allegedly. Again, like, this is where it gets, like, it's gameplay, it's running on the showroom floor. I'm not sure if actually The Last of Us 2 was on the showroom floor. But, like, Ghost of Tsushima, I think, is on the gameplay, on the game room, the show floor and all that stuff. And, it looks amazing so far. And, of course, Spider-Man's on the showroom floor, and people were talking about that. We saw all sorts of crazy footage about the new Spider-Man game, And at some point, I was also thinking the same thing as, like, I hope... So, yeah, it looks like Spider-Man's going to be fucking awesome. And then you have, all these other video games that are out there that look, amazing, but, they're coming out next year. Like, even The Last of Us 2, I don't think they actually gave us a date specifically for The Last of Us 2. But Ghost of Tsushima is coming out in February, I think, right? I don't know when those games are coming out. Death Stranding, I think, has no release date, but we know, okay, Spider-Man is coming out this year, and one of these games is coming out next year, early next year. Maybe that was The Last of Us 2. I can't freaking remember. Anyway, PlayStation had a really strong showing, whereas Microsoft showing, it was all promises, all hype, and we know how that works with Microsoft. They showed off a game engine demonstration, and people were like, "Oh, it's Halo," and they announced Halo Infinite along with that, which I think was hugely misleading. But if Halo Infinite is going to be next gen, then maybe it's not misleading. Who knows? But that would be another huge leap. I mean, for Xbox, and really for real-time rendering, what they were showing was 4K 60 frames per second. So, and of course it did look really good, but at the same time, I really don't think that if that's what they're showing for the Xbox One, nope. I'm sorry. Prepare your buttholes for the downgrade. It's going to happen. There's going to be a massive downgrade, and everybody's going to be disappointed, except for the elite fanboys and, of course, the gaming journos, which will be, like, creaming their pants and all that stuff, wetting their t-shirts over this crap. I don't see how people believe Microsoft won. It doesn't make any sense to me, but whatever. It is what it is, and the press conferences are done. It's over. I think Sony did the best out of the big three. Out of all the other publishers, I think Ubisoft probably did the best, and that's not really saying much. Most of the other press conferences were really crap. EA has already confirmed through developer interviews and stuff like that Battlefield 5 is an SJW game. It is made specifically to be inclusive. It's not made to be historically accurate at all. And it's still World War II, though. That's what they're claiming. It's still World War II. We're telling the stories that were never told, but we're not calling it fiction. But it is fiction. But we're not calling it fiction. You should call it fiction, because this is not what really happened in World War II. Okay, you go ahead and believe. Okay, I guess I'm gonna have to believe that, because when DICE starts rewriting history, and all the people from World War II are dead and gone. I mean, what are we supposed to do about that? When these people are starting to rewrite history to fit the girl power Me Too movement sort of thing, I think that's hugely wrong. They should have just created a new game. Call it Battlefield 5 if you want, but it's alternate history. It's not real. It's not World War II at all. Just like with what Resistance did. They're like, it takes place in the World War II era, and we have some of that technology and stuff. But it's pretty obvious that this is not World War II at all. So that would be nice if, DICE would have owned it, And again, like, you have this other game called Control, which has a strong female lead and all that stuff. Nobody gives a shit. It's not a problem, It's not a problem that there's a girl lead. So, again. And then you have all these other games out there that have female leads, and nobody cares. It's not a problem. Gamers don't have any issue playing games with girl leads in them. Or female leads, woman leads, trans women leads. It doesn't really matter as long as the trans stuff isn't really brought to the fore, because really nobody gives a fuck. In fact, in many cases, that is a detractor. Despite what most of the people will virtue signal on the internet, it's not great. Nobody cares. That's why EA is at the bottom of the list. With all these other video game manufacturers, I think Ubisoft really had the most to show. And Square, I'm in the same boat as a lot of other people, including the person I was arguing against, Colin Moriarty. I don't know what the hell is going on with Kingdom Hearts, so I don't care. I never played Kingdom Hearts. I don't have this huge, there's a huge following of with Kingdom Hearts. Everybody loves this Kingdom Hearts game. I don't know anybody who plays Kingdom Hearts anymore or who has played Kingdom Hearts, especially young kids these days. You know, and when I was a kid, that was like all the rage. But nowadays, those people are full-grown adults in their 30s, and they're super hyped and excited for Kingdom Hearts 3. I think that's a little weird. Just like these people being super excited for Smash, it's like, okay, I mean, you do you, but at the same time, it's really weird. At some point, you get kind of too old for these games. You know, and you could argue the same thing with Ratchet and Clank, but like Ratchet and Clank, I don't know. There's still a difference. You're blowing shit up. There's still a lot of adult themed humor in there. It's not like these Nintendo games where everything's fluffy. Everything's supposedly ridiculously cute and all that stuff. It's like the people that are making these games are like in their 70s, and the people enjoying these games are like in their 30s and 40s. And they're still wearing that brown NES Nintendo T-shirt and all that stuff, and it's getting a little weird. Okay, it's all right when these people that are still under 30, they're like 21, 25, talking about it. But I think after that period in time, it gets a little weird when you're like, man, that's so awesome, I can't wait. And most of the people that are playing Nintendo games today don't even know what the hell you're talking about because they don't know who Samus is. They don't know who anybody else is. I don't even know who most of these characters are. I don't really care. I've really only followed Mario. Oh, you're doing yourself a real disservice. Well, I played Zelda and all that stuff without the Retrovision goggles, and and they sucked objectively. Even back in the day, stuff I was playing on the PC and everything, it was like there was nothing that Zelda was doing that is remotely new. Nothing that is remotely, or objectively better. In fact, there's a lot of stuff that's worse, especially these stupid-ass fetch quests that still exist in games today, And people are like, well, part of what makes the game amazing is that you have to figure out what the hell's going on. And you have, like, almost no clue what's going on. You're just basically exploring. It's like, it's forced exploration, And in a game like this, it really has to be forced because there's nothing cool about exploring a 2D, plane just one section at a time. That's why the side-scrolling games really worked for me. Like, I was playing all sorts of side-scrolling games, not just Mario, but games like James Pond on the SNES. And, all these other side-scrolling games. But these games that kept, like, throwing the enemies at you, like when you leave an area and then you come back and the game forgot that you killed those things, I was like, nope, I'm done. I hated those games. I hated games like that. That was so stupid. It's like, well, you only have a certain amount of health. And what's funny is like sometimes the collectibles are the only thing that are gone. So it's like, it remembers that you collected the collectibles, which means you're really SOL because all those enemies came back and you have no way, to kill them now. Like you run out of ammo or you have like your default weapons, which aren't really strong and stuff like that. It's like, this is not fun. This is stupid, man. This is stupid. Like these games are designed to make sure that you fail, and it's one thing when the games are designed to be hard, but when you have these games that have that sort of mechanic where like it doesn't matter that you killed an enemy, I just give up. I'm like, nope, this isn't even worth my time. It's fucking retarded. What endless fucking. It's funny because today everybody's like, that's the laziest thing ever, having these endless doorways where you just spawn enemies, and yet that's what Metroid was. Fucking unbelievable. But it's okay when Nintendo does it. I hate that. It's so dumb. But you have these games that did remember that you kill stuff, and it's still, you have to skill your way through the levels and stuff. So even though you've killed everything, It's still like, like Spyro. You've killed all the enemies, but now you have to still glide to that area that you left like an idiot. You left some gems or a dragon behind or something. Like the treetops level that they're showing off today. That was one of the hardest levels in that video game. You know, also, there was a couple of levels in the Magic Crafters world. So what they were talking about was like a level in the Beastmaker world, which is actually further in the game. It's the last world before you enter Nasty's world, which is just 3 levels, including Nasty, Nork, and then there's the bonus level. I think there's just the 3 levels, including that bonus level. But anyway, you know, it's really interesting. Like, it blows my mind how forgetful people are, about the mechanics in these games, and how they do give, credit to certain companies, which just, it's sort of dumb. Like Nintendo, they get a lot of credit for the dumbest things. I'm sorry, Nintendo did not create the first 3D platformer. I'm sorry, they did not create the first RPG game. They didn't create, the first platformers even. Mario, would Mario still be Mario if it was Thomas Was Alone graphics? The gameplay argument. These things always annoy me. Nobody would be playing a Mario game if it was Thomas Was Alone graphics. If it was played back with Thomas Was Alone graphics. Nobody would give a shit. Everybody would be like, yeah, it's not fun. This looks like crap. It's like, this is literally Mario. We just covered the sprite. So the argument that, these games need to, or they don't have that appeal because of Nintendo's IPs, because of Mario and stuff like that, that falls on deaf ears. On my ears. My ears are deaf to that noise. Because the gameplay thing, it doesn't hold any water. If you were to play a game that was literally exactly the same as Mario, it's made by Tokyo, Nintendo EAD, the same people making Mario, but it was literally not Mario. Would people still be like, first of all, Tokyo EAD or Nintendo EAD, I'm not sure if it's like Tokyo or whatever, but Nintendo EAD, if they were to make a non-Nintendo game and cover up their tracks so nobody knows that it's Nintendo EAD making a Mario clone, would people still be like, this is the best game ever? If they were to do that and sell that and find out that people really hated it, I mean, would that change the direction of Nintendo EAD? That would be sort of like a wake-up call, in my opinion. If I were doing something like that, I'd be like, well, let's create a really crazy, like, quintuple blind, test. We're the only people that know we're making a clone of a very popular game that we make, and we're going to sell it as a clone. We're going to sell it as if it's a ripoff, as if it isn't there, but the mechanics are exactly the same. It is the same game, just at a much lower price, and without all of our feature characters in it. And see how people take to it. And if they are like, no man, this game is so stupid, it's like trying to be Mario or something, but it doesn't feel right, it doesn't look right, it's so dumb. That's all I have to say about that. But those are my opinions on people's opinions about E3 2018. And I am finally done. I'm done.